Buenas tardes y bienvenido a Mérida, Mexico. Welcome guys, welcome to Mérida, Mexico, the largest city in the Yucatan state, the largest city in southern Mexico. Today we have a special episode for you guys. Today we're going to talk about a place that I've become incredibly passionate about, a place that I've called home for the last 40 days, and a place that is so filled with diversity and amazing things. I'm talking, of course, of southern Mexico. In today's video, we'll talk about culture, history, food, but more importantly, what you need to know so that you can have an amazing time in southern Mexico, just like I have. So, enough with the talking, let's get to the video. Vamos. My definition of southern Mexico includes the 5 Mexican states of Oaxaca, Campeche, Chiapas, Quintana Roo, and of course, the Yucatan. I'm not forgetting Tabasco, it's just not in my definition for this video since I didn't go there and since many tourists kind of skip it. Some commenters might complain that I didn't add Veracruz or that Mérida is actually more north than Mexico City, but hey, it's my definition and I'm rolling with it. To start this off, you can't talk about southern Mexico without focusing first and foremost on its unique indigenous history. Stepping foot in this part of Mexico feels a world apart than what I've seen in the north regarding ethnic makeup. So different that it could almost be a different country. The Zapotecs and Mixtecs from Oaxaca and the Mayan cultures of the east dominate the overall culture, creating this kind of Mexican hybrid that is incredibly beautiful. You can see this connection in the food, in the language with many people still speaking their indigenous tongues, and in the look of the people. It seemed that the average height in these areas was well under 5'5" for men, and definitely under 5'2" for women. Very, very different than what I saw in the north of Mexico. The majority of the land is dotted with ancient Native American temples, such as Chichen Itza, a wonder of the world, as well as the equally impressive temples of Palenque, Uxmal, Monte Alban, just to name a few. And it seems that the Mexican government has actually done a really good job maintaining these gems during the times of mass tourism. Paired with the ancient history of the land is the Spanish colonial presence that has left some incredibly beautiful cities to be visited. A trip to this area wouldn't be complete without marveling at the churches in Oaxaca, getting spiritual in San Cristobal de las Casas, slowing down a bit in Campeche, enjoying the coast, and getting back to the big city spirit in Mérida. Each city has their own unique feel and embody this kind of faded glory about it that makes Mexico so enticing and equally romantic. Now we'll come to a topic that is of big concern when traveling in Mexico, regardless of north or south, and that is security. As being someone that's lived in Mexico City, I spent 2 months there for an internship quite a while ago. Mexico City kind of lives up to all of the negative stereotypes we have about Mexico. It's highly policed, it's kind of sketchy at night, it feels a bit generally unsafe. It's a beautiful city and I love Mexico City. I'm not trashing Mexico City, but walking around at night in Mexico City is just not something I feel comfortable doing. Getting in random taxis is not something I feel comfortable doing. And there's a lot of problems that city needs to address to make life better for the people living there. That being said, what I've experienced in southern Mexico over the last 40 days is completely flipped my idea of what the security is like in Mexico, besides Cancun, and I'll explain why. I'll find that the bigger cities in southern Mexico, whether I was in Oaxaca or Tuxtla Gutierrez or San Cristobal de las Casas or Campeche or Mérida, the security in all of these cities felt very good. Of course, walking around at night and being stupid is a good way to get yourself in trouble in any place, but all of these places lacked one thing that I find is very endemic to Mexico, northern Mexico, and even Los Angeles, Arizona, New Mexico. And these are criminal people walking around the city all over the place. The typical shady dudes down in an alley, the guys looking at you weird, the possible drug dealers, the sketch taxis. I mean, they exist here, they're just not so common. You get more smiles here than you get looks of questionable motives, which I can say is really nice. And I can say the entirety of my time here, minus Cancun, has been delightful. I've been walking around at night, I've been going out with my friends, I've felt very comfortable, and the people here seem to be genuinely nice people. There's some cultural vigilance to the security, and a lot of these communities have taken it upon themselves to kind of make sure that they're safe as well from the narco kind of terrorism that has consumed a lot of Mexican society as of the last 20 or 30 years. That being said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows down here either. In Chiapas, they have actually no-go zones where they won't even drive buses through because of bandits that are, you know, kids steal your stuff. When you go away from the bigger cities, there's groups of people that are willing and do bad things to tourists. Mexico is a place where you have to be on guard, a place where you have to keep your head on a swivel, a place where you have to set in, unless you're in Merida, which is the 22nd most safe city in the entire world. Safer than any city in the United States and safer than every city except Quebec City in Canada. A crazy fact. Cancun, however, because Quintana Roo gets a lot of tourists and there are a lot of drug trade in Quintana Roo, the city felt sketchy. It felt just like Mexico City. It felt like a place where if you're in the wrong place at night, you're probably gonna get robbed. That's just the feeling I had. I would love to hear other people's opinions, but that's just what I felt personally. Other places though, you know, whether it's the other states, they've been really, really nice. I've heard up and downs about Tabasco. Not a lot of people go to the Tabasco state. It's not really a big tourist hotspot. It's in between Campeche and Chiapas. You can see it on a map right here. And there are warnings about that state as it could be dangerous, but there's not many tourists or reason to actually go there unless you're interested in their city called Villahermosa, which is a beautiful city, so that could be a reason to go. So if we were putting an A to F rating for security in Mexico, with Mexico City being a D- because it's really not super safe, I would give southern Mexico a B. Be aware, be smart, but the chance of you getting into problems down here, it's a lot lower than it would be in northern Mexico, Chihuahua, Guadalajara, Nuevo Leon, or Mexico City itself. My real reason for coming to this region was to taste what I would argue is the best of Mexican food, especially that food coming from Oaxaca. Each region has their own unique take on Mexican delicacies, and while they have tacos, tortas, and agua frescas, there is so much more to be discovered. Oaxacan food might be the king of all cuisine in Mexico, known for its delightful cheeses, chocolate, and sauces. The mole sauce, which is known for having a kitchen sink's worth of ingredients, comes in various varieties, and is so notorious that they jar it up and send it all across the world. You'll never forget that first plate you taste, that first bite of a perfect Oaxacan mole. Street food dominates the landscape in every city I went to besides Merida, and the amount of delightful bites you can get for just under $5 US is absolutely absurd. A trip to southern Mexico wouldn't be done right without loosening that belt buckle a bit. So what about transportation and infrastructure? What's that like in southern Mexico? We know southern Mexico is poorer than central Mexico and some cities in the north. So what does that mean for getting around? So there's two trips you can kind of take in southern Mexico, and there's two kind of routes. I started in Oaxaca, which is a big airport, and then you can kind of just head east by either buses or by planes. There's a bus company called ADO. They have really nice buses, first class buses. They're kind of expensive for what they are in comparison to the United States. Not expensive for a bus, definitely, especially if you're taking Greyhound, terrible company. But if you're in Europe and you're taking Flixbus, it's expensive. You have to remember that each state in Mexico, it's a federation, and it's not a extremely well-managed federation. So that means the national government has some definite lacks of the interstate kind of federal governance. That kind of extends into the transportation. So they have roads, obviously, you know, as a country. They have good roads and interstates, but some of them are not really well kept up. Some of them are not a super efficient route. And this region is in the mountains typically. It's a little bit poorer, it's a little bit hillier. So you're gonna go, you know, swerving through the mountains a little bit, which makes your travel time really, really long. So for example, Oaxaca and Tuxtla Gutierrez, like on the map, they're not that far. I was thinking like 5 hours away. Turned out that they were almost 11 hours away because of the stopping in small towns with the bus, but also just the speed that you can physically go on this bus, because they're driving at night, they're driving through little narrow roads, and they're unable to really like have a fantastic connection. This is the case if you're gonna take a bus starting in Oaxaca anywhere east. It just is what it is. Or if you're starting in Cancun and you're hoping to end in Oaxaca. If you're flying, they have airports in basically every major Mexican city. You can get an airport to Oaxaca City, to Tuxtla Gutierrez, to Merida, to, I believe Campeche has an airport even, to Cancun. So you can go by plane, but if you're flying internationally in to those places, they could be expensive, but there are low budget and low cost airlines here in Mexico. Viva America, I'll put the links down below. I took two of them. There was Volaris and Viva something. Not remembering the name right now. The important thing to remember about the southern part of Mexico is it's probably the poorest part of Mexico, and it's probably the most rural part of Mexico. And it also has the highest percentage of indigenous people. So all of those things combined, it doesn't make traveling between these places, because a lot of these communities are quite isolated, so easy. So when you're planning a trip to southern Mexico, you need to take into consideration time between places. It's not as easy as hopping on a bus from Prague to Budapest. That would be 2 hours or 3 hours in Europe. That would be 6 hours or 8 hours here. Something to definitely be aware of. Go along with the talk of infrastructure, of course, everything else that you need to know, like hospitals, other services, other stores. They have basically everything you need in every major city. The question is access and quality. With any poor place or any region that has experienced more poverty over time, the quality of the healthcare that you can find in certain rural communities versus the bigger city in that state can, be kind of medium good at best. So it is important to be aware that you're coming to a rural part. There are sometimes border or land disputes between Guatemala and Mexican kind of like frontier rebels. That happens. Or in other parts of southern Mexico. There's a lot of weird stuff going on down here. It's kind of unfettered. So it's important to remember that you're not in Mexico City with all the services and all the protection from an embassy that you would have. You're coming to poorer places with less resources, with less ability to get in and out of there. So these are things to be aware when you're going to any place that is rural and has a high level of poverty and unemployment. But this is definitely something that you need to know before coming to southern Mexico. That being said, guys, I want to give you my final summary of southern Mexico. It's a spectacular place, but there is one part of it I really do not like, and that is Quintana Roo. I think Cancun, no offense to people who live in Cancun, but it is a trashy city. The people, I stayed in the center, that's a fine place. But the hotel zone, the American tourists who come to drink and to party and to do debaucherous things, I understand why it exists. I just don't like it. I think it makes Tulum this amazing, beautiful ruin. It makes it touristy. A lot of the services that you get in Quintana Roo are really touristy. It makes the area probably more sketchy than it would need to be. It impedes kind of that cool Mayan vibe that you find here in Merida and the Yucatan. And I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan. I will not be going back to Cancun unless I go with some boys. I mean, who knows? But that being said, the rest of the region, whether you go to Chiapas, even if you head into Tabasco and try something new, Campeche, Oaxaca, these places are awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. They each deserve their own video explaining how awesome and how diverse and how beautiful they are. So I cannot recommend those places high enough. That would be my real review, my real experience, my real time here in southern Mexico. I hope you found it helpful, interesting. If you did, you got something out of it, please, of course, comment below. I love making these videos that kind of go all the way around. I'm here to help you guys, and it's fun making the process. So if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It's free, helps me out, really do appreciate it. I have a Patreon if you're feeling like you want to support me on my travels. You don't have to. Subscription will be more than enough. And I appreciate you guys from watching. This is the final day in Mexico. We're getting out of here. We're headed to our next destination, which is not in the Americas. I will keep it a secret because that's the kind of guy I am. So to follow on where I'm going, I will make an announcement on YouTube, and we will see what kind of videos we can bring you from that mystery country in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and one last hasta luego from Mexico. Gracias.